The year 2024 marked a turning point in Bangladesh's history. After 15 years in power, Sheikh Hasina's rule came to an abrupt end. A student-led revolution swept the nation, demanding an end to her authoritarian regime. Hasina's tenure, once characterized by economic growth, had become marred by accusations of corruption and the suppression of dissent. The controversial quota system for government jobs proved to be the final straw. What began as protests against unfair job allocations quickly escalated into a nationwide movement. The death of student activist Abu Sayed further fueled the flames of discontent. Sayed, a vocal critic of the government, died under suspicious circumstances, sparking outrage and accusations of state-sponsored violence. The student movement, leveraging the power of social media, mobilized millions across the country. Hasina's government, initially dismissive of the protests, responded with a heavy hand. However, the use of force only strengthened the resolve of the demonstrators. Faced with mounting pressure and international condemnation, Hasina was forced to step down, paving the way for a new era in Bangladeshi politics. The events of 2024 served as a stark reminder that even seemingly entrenched regimes are vulnerable to the will of the people, particularly when fueled by the passion and idealism of youth. In the aftermath of Hasina's removal, Bangladesh found itself at a crossroads. The nation, accustomed to the Awami League's dominance, now grappled with the uncertainty of a political vacuum. To steer the country toward stability and oversee the transition to a new government, an interim administration was formed, led by Nobel Peace Prize laureate Muhammad Yunus. Yunus, internationally renowned for his work on microfinance and poverty alleviation, assumed the mantle of leadership with a call for unity and reconciliation. His government, comprising technocrats and respected figures from civil society, faced the daunting task of restoring faith in democratic institutions and addressing the grievances that had fueled the revolution. However, the interim government has not been without its critics. Accusations of bias and a lack of transparency have been leveled against Yunus and his team. Some allege that the interim administration is beholden to Islamist groups like Jamaat-e-Islami, who have sought to exploit the political upheaval to advance their agenda. Despite the challenges, the interim government has made some progress in laying the groundwork for a more democratic Bangladesh. Efforts are underway to reform the electoral system, ensure freedom of the press, and create a more inclusive political landscape. The success of these reforms will ultimately determine whether Bangladesh can emerge from this tumultuous period as a truly democratic nation. The political turmoil in Bangladesh has also reignited debates about the country's past, particularly the narrative surrounding the Liberation War of 1971. The war, which led to Bangladesh's independence from Pakistan, has long been a source of both national pride and political contention. Under Hasina's rule, a particular narrative of the war, one that centered on the Awami League and the legacy of her father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, became deeply entrenched. This narrative, critics argue, often overlooked or downplayed the contributions of other key figures and marginalized alternative perspectives on the war. The removal of Hasina from power has emboldened those seeking a more nuanced and inclusive understanding of the Liberation War. Statues of Mujibur Rahman have been removed, and there are calls for a reassessment of his role in the events of 1971. This re-examination of the past has further polarized Bangladesh's political landscape. The Awami League accuses its opponents of engaging in historical revisionism and undermining the legacy of the Liberation War. Meanwhile, groups like the BNP and Jamaat-e-Islami see an opportunity to challenge the Awami League's version of history and promote their own interpretations of the war. As Bangladesh navigates this period of profound change, it faces both daunting challenges and unique opportunities. The country stands at a crossroads, with the potential to either descend into further chaos or emerge as a more democratic and just society. One of the most pressing challenges is the deep political polarization that continues to grip the nation. The Awami League, once the dominant force in Bangladeshi politics, is now reeling from its ouster and facing internal divisions. The BNP, seeking to capitalize on the current political climate, is grappling with its own internal struggles and a legacy tarnished by past corruption allegations. The student movement, which played a pivotal role in toppling Hasina, now faces the challenge of translating its activism into meaningful political change. The movement, while united in its opposition to Hasina, is fragmented, with differing visions for the country's future. Despite the challenges, there is also a glimmer of hope. The overthrow of Hasina has created a space for long overdue reforms. The interim government, despite its limitations, has an opportunity to strengthen democratic institutions, promote good governance, and address the root causes of the country's political malaise. The international community also has a crucial role to play in supporting Bangladesh's transition. By providing technical assistance, promoting dialogue, and upholding democratic norms, the international community can help foster a more stable and prosperous future for Bangladesh. The coming months and years will be critical for Bangladesh. The choices made today will determine whether the country can capitalize on this historic moment and build a more democratic and equitable society.